Here is a way to take a simple mirror and turn it into something a little bit more elevated and rustic. So I wanted to turn this into a jewelry holder. So I started off with a square mirror. I also used some balsa wood, some spray paint, a couple of hooks, and some E6000. So the first thing that I did was I cut my balsa wood to be the width of my mirror, and I went ahead and screwed my hooks into one side of the balsa wood on the bottom there. So I went ahead and I screwed in, I believe, about 5 of them, and I used this hammer finish dark bronze spray paint to give this more of a metallized finish, and I think it looked really, really cool in the end. You could spray this or stain it as you would like. And then on the bottom of the mirror, I went ahead and I applied our hook section, as you could see. And on the top of the mirror, I just applied the other wood section just to kind of make it look like it is framed off. And on the back side, you're going to want to also allow it to be hung up. So I used a little bit of chain that I had in my stash. I used E6000 to adhere it down. Once it was fully dry, you could hang this up and store your jewelry. Affordable furniture DIYs are always a hit here on Lone Fox, so I wanted to share with you guys how I created this nightstand from a simple crate from IKEA. So this is the Naglig crate, which you could pick up for about $10 at IKEA, and I went ahead and I started off by just constructing it based off the instructions. You have to just screw all of the elements together, and once they're all screwed up, you have a basic wooden crate. Now, on the bottom of the wooden crate, I wanted to add a leg, so I elevated it off the floor with these little wooden trinket dishes, or like little wooden trays that I found at the craft store as well. They're just a simple wood, very similar to the one from IKEA, and I just E6000 these down. You could also use a nail gun if you'd like to, and once you are done, you have a very simple, minimal nightstand. This next piece of decor is a great way to add more of your accent color throughout your space because it's totally customizable. You can select the colors of yarn you want to go for, and the first thing that you're going to want to do is actually tie a piece of yarn across the bottom side of this ring here. This is going to be where all of our other yarn sections are going to be hanging off of, and I suggest starting from the bottom. That way you could build up and layer your yarns as needed. So all we're doing here is a simple lark's head knot by cutting a little bit of yarn, probably about 6 inches long, because you could trim it after if needed, and attaching it to the yarn piece that we added on originally. So I just varied up my yarn a little bit. I did a little bit of the white fleck and also the yellow on the first section, and then here on the second section I opted for this twisted yarn that had yellow and white in it. I added a little bit of blue, and then on the third section at the top I just filled it in with a couple more colors. So once you are completely done, it'll look something like this. You could trim off the excess, and here's your decor piece. This is a really fun multi-purpose DIY. I created a memento lampshade because lampshades can be a little bit boring, so if you have a basic lamp, especially in like a dorm room or a small space, spice it up with a simple hack here. All that I started off by doing was just painting my clothespins how I wanted them to look, so I think I did a mixture of black and then also just the raw wood as well. All you have to do for this project is literally glue down the clothes clips all the way around the exterior of the lampshade, just kind of spacing them out however you would like them to go, and keep in mind wherever you place a clothespin, you can add a Polaroid or a little memento, and that finishes off this lampshade. It's actually really fun redoing these voiceovers because I forget how many fun projects I could recreate currently that I would love to have in my apartment, such as this wool magazine holder. These are super affordable. All I did was I picked up this gray toned felt from the craft store. Each felt sheet cost under 50 cents, and I cut it in half to start. Then what you're going to want to do is actually fold it into thirds like this. That way you have nice clean edges on the front side and it doesn't have any cut edges. I ended up using some Fabri-Tac adhesive to glue it down on a third of the piece. Then I added a little bit more adhesive on top of that, folded it over once more, and you have a nice tripled up felt piece, which you are going to want to make 2 of. And then once you have both, you're going to glue them together just about 1 inch on the bottom. Just glue these 2 strips together, let them dry. Once it is dry, use a push pin to secure it in the wall and place your magazine inside. If you love a freehand, very artsy project, this one is for you. I created this as a dorm decor piece a while back, and it is just a kind of moon phase galactic pillowcase. I just used a simple white IKEA pillowcase and some black fabric paint to paint on some stars and moons around the exterior of this pillow. I also added a couple of constellations, and that was all. I still to this day create these reworked sweaters for Christmas gifts or birthday presents. All you're going to need is a couple of old sweaters. This is a Champion and also an Illinois sweater from H&M. And all I did for this project was just cut the sweaters directly in half down the middle. The great thing about this project as well is that you can actually get 2 finished sweaters from your 2 original sweaters. So it's not like you're scrapping any material at all. So what you're going to want to do is actually pin the right sides of your sweaters together down the front, and you're going to be sewing this up the entire front side using just a straight stitch. I suggest doing the triple straight stitch so you have a nice strong bond. I removed those pins, and on the back side you're going to put right sides together once again. Add a pin every couple of inches to hold the fabric together, add a nice straight stitch all the way throughout, and that finishes off your brand new reworked sweater. A couple years back, I received a Lalapo candle for Christmas, and it had a really funky kind of hammered metal tin container that it came in, and I wanted to recreate my very own for a fraction of the price. So I found this metal tin here on Amazon, and I literally went to town on it with a hammer, just hammered it all the way around, gave it a very distressed and just unique look. So as you can see, these are going to be our candle canisters. Now these candles here are a couple that I've had in my stash for a while, and I placed them right on top of a pan, just right over the heat. However, I would never do this to this day. I highly suggest getting a boiling pot that you can actually add some water inside of, adding about 2 to 3 inches of water, letting that boil, and then placing your candles inside and letting it slowly melt over time, kind of like a double boiler method. But once it is fully melted, you can go ahead and glue a new wick on the inside of your canister. And then once that is adhered inside, you can go ahead and pour your melted wax very carefully into your canister there. I actually poured both candles in here and mixed up the waxes, but you can totally do one style or create your very own scent with some essential oils, and that finishes off your hammered 10 candle. This pillowcase was such a fun one to recreate. It was inspired by an Urban Outfitters one that I believe cost around $80, and I knew we could take a simple IKEA pillowcase and create our very own with just a little bit of black fabric paint. So I started off by cutting off any of the tags and using some black fabric paint to paint on the shape of an eyelid, just like a very organic kind of half circle shape. And from there, I went ahead and I added on some eyelashes to this piece as well. If you guys can see, the brush that I'm using has a very, very flat top, and it's almost the width of all of the lines that I'm creating, which I just find makes it a little bit easier when freehand painting like this. And there really is no rhyme or reason to this. I know I say that all the time when I'm painting projects like this, but really as you go, you can add to the piece, take away, and if you mess up, honestly, just keep on working on or add it and implement it into your pattern elsewhere so it doesn't really look like a mess up. So I just went all the way around, added this pattern throughout, and that finished off this pillow. Another oldie but goodie was this geometric wall hanging. I remember when these geometric shapes were super trendy in interior design, and if it totally matches your style currently, this is a project you should definitely recreate because it is super simple. But a humongous pointer I can give you for creating this project is to work on top of wax paper or parchment paper and just basically lay your sticks down and apply glue on top of them. That way you're not adhering everything together and having to wait for it to dry and it's sticking to your surface. Just work on top of a wax paper or parchment paper and it will easily be able to be removed. I also use the tip of my hot glue gun to kind of melt down any excess hot glue sections. So I created these 3 almost pinwheel style shapes and I attached them together using a little bit of yarn. You're just going to use about 8 inches of yarn between each section to attach them together. Once you reach the end, just tie a little loop at the top that you can hang it off with, and that finishes off your brand new wooden geometric wall decor hanging.